morning, good morning. It's time to rise and shine.
Good morning. Good morning. So over the past couple of days, we've been talking about 2 Corinthians verses 10, focusing on verses 6, which says,
Be ready to punish all disobedience when your obedience is fulfilled.
The talking points that we made throughout the week was 3 talking points. We had be ready to punish disobedience, and our obedience. Today we'll be focused on our obedience. In order for us to correct someone, so tidy your house first before you tell someone else that their house is messy.
Yeah. And the reason why you need to do that is because there's power in obedience. Remember, we're talking about the weapons of our warfare, and obedience to me is the most powerful one. There are 2 very powerful ones, and to me, obedience is like the crescendo. Prayer is a very powerful weapon because it's talking to God, hearing from God, listening to God. And then secondly, obeying God. And that is the most important, because you can pray, you can talk to God, He gives you instruction, then you disobey. But when you obey, that is where the punch is. And the power that we are given is the same power. We're operating that power that raised Jesus from the dead. When we obey God, it carries a lot of power. So if we are, for instance, correcting our children, like I'll give you a joke. There was a time someone that I know, and they were home, and the neighbor came and called out to them, and they told the child, "Who's out there? Tell them I ain't home." So the child was a little child, probably now learning to speak and stuff, went and said, "My mommy said that she ain't home." In essence, what was happening there is that the mother was practicing lies, but I'm sure at some point she would have been telling that child, "Do not lie to me." Would be lashing the child, "I told you not to tell lies," right? So we can't do that, because when we do that, we are not operating in that power that God has given to us to address disobedience, right?
I'm sure we all can relate to that, because growing up on Sundays, you had the Jehovah's Witnesses coming, and your parents would tell them, "Hey, tell them that we're not here." So we all can relate to that.
For sure. Yeah, but it is important to be obedient in order to punish disobedience. And yes, there we spoke about chastisement and how God chastises us in love, and how we're to chastise our children in love so that they will go the correct way and be reformed. But this context of the scripture, punish disobedience. Whereas we said we don't chastise the child to murder them, with this one we want to kill this disobedience dead, because it's a spirit of disobedience, and we want to crush that. And that spirit of disobedience is formed when we disobey. As a child, we disobey. You get into a job, and your boss, or school, you go to high school and they give you an instruction, you disobey the teacher, you disobey. You go to a job, your employer give you a job to do. What are you going to do? You're going to disobey, because you have formed a habit and you've entertained a spirit of disobedience. So now, in order to punish that disobedience, we have to become obedient. Yeah.
Just to add on to that, say for instance, like, okay, that spirit that we entertain as a child growing up, of disobedient, becoming an adult, the same spirit, after a while that becomes like a generational curse. So sometimes you have people in your family, as a child, that lie. They're become a parent now, their child is telling lies, then they become a grandparent, great grandparent. It just goes on and on. So that spirit has to die.
Yeah.
That spirit has to be murdered.
Yeah. Kill it dead. And we do so by obeying who? God.
Yeah.
Obedience. We punish disobedience with your obedience, with our obedience, with my obedience, with your obedience. We have to obey God. There's no other way. A lot of problems that we have and we see developing in our family, in our bloodline, obey God. Obey God.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Take care. Be ready.
Be ready.
Obey God.